Welcome to the David Nurse Show. This has been a long time coming, man. How are we doing? How are you today on this?
I am amazing, and I'm super excited to be here, and this is going to be a lot of fun.
Is it the perfect day, though? Let me ask you that. Are you having the perfect day?
I'm having a really, really, really great day.
Okay, good.
Preparing for a hurricane tonight, but a really great day today.
Whoa. Is that thing coming? Where are you exactly?
I live in Cancun. We're going to get the edge of Hurricane Ian before it goes to Cuba and then Florida. So we're going to get thunderstorms tonight, not the real thing, just the warm-up show, and then everybody else is going to get the real thing.
Man. And you just said, I like how you subtly just dropped that in there. I live in Cancun. Like, you're doing what everybody says they want to do. Like, when me and my wife go to Hawaii, to Maui, we're like, why don't we just live here? Like, what? And they're like, nah, we can't. People can't live where they go on vacation. You're doing it.
We go out to a place, we try and go to places every week. We went to 2 or 3 restaurants. Last week I had a mastermind down here, so we went to a bunch more than regular. But we always try and go to somewhere every week. And I said to my wife, listen, they say that Disneyland is the happiest place on earth, but look around. Cancun is the happiest place on earth. Everybody's so when everybody listening to this, you go to a restaurant in your hometown, and people are generally in a good mood. But in Cancun, everybody's in the greatest mood when you go to a restaurant because everybody here is on a once in a lifetime vacation or once a year vacation, and it's the happiest place on earth.
I agree. Okay, Disney World is definitely not the happiest place on the earth. In theory, it sounds good, but once you wait in line for 45 minutes, you're not so happy. Yeah. It's kind of like LA. Like, it sounds all great, and I love it. There's a lot of great things about it, but when you're on the 405 in traffic, it's not the happiest. So,
one of the first places that my wife and I went for a date before we got married was Disneyland, right? We spent the day there. And at the end of the day, after spending, doing at least 6, maybe 8 45-minute lineups, we were like, wow, we had a great time. Yeah. Like, I could have waited in line 60 minutes for each ride. We just had such a good time. And it was like, okay, that's a good relationship test right there.
That is a really good relationship test. And I think that is credit to your mindset too, which we're going to dive into. Because when you said that, I'm automatically thinking, you waited 60 minutes to ride Peter Pan? Like, no. But we'll get into that. All right, before we jump into it, we're going to talk about the perfect day, how to build the perfect day, the morning routine, so much more. But before we dive in, start us off with a bang. Something maybe not the audience, people don't really know about. You could be something different, like you love bird watching on Tuesday afternoons in Cancun, whatever.
Let's see. Yeah. So, I think just going back to what we talked about before is we left Canada for Cancun, and we had our baby here in Cancun. Whoa. So our daughter is Mexicana. She has 2 passports already, Canadian and Mexican, and we're on track to get our Mexican passports down here as well.
I love it. I was just in Toronto last night, flew home last night from Canada.
Wow, nice.
Already getting freezing cold and raining up there.
So I had a client come down from Montreal last week, and he said the same thing. And I was like, man, that's crazy.
How did you do it? How did you just decide, like, hey, we're going to uproot, we're leaving family, we're doing this thing?
Well, there was a few factors with all the pandemic stuff and Mexico being a pretty free place to kind of come and do your thing. And we, my wife was 5 or 6 months pregnant, and a friend of mine did have his baby here in Cancun the year before. He's actually back to have his second child here. He's an American guy. And when your child is born in certain countries, whether it's Canada, the United States, Mexico, Costa Rica, the child is immediately granted citizenship. And I'm a big believer in options and insurance policies. Yeah. And so having a second passport is an insurance policy in strange times. For example, during COVID, as an American, you were restricted to traveling to about 30 countries. Now, there was, kind of sort of good reasons for limiting travel, but your amazing American passport became very restricted. But if you had a second passport, you could travel more freely should you wanted to. So it's just stuff like that is something that a lot of people don't think about. And it's actually something I spend a lot of time thinking about, because the number one thing that I spend time thinking about is making sure that my family is safe, happy, healthy, and protected.
I love it, man. That's the most important thing that you will say on this podcast, or anybody will say on this podcast. So what you're saying is, when me and my wife decide to start having kids, we should have that kid in Italy, so we can go to Italy.
So I'm not sure if Italy grants passports like that. There's only certain countries that do it. So I'm not sure if Italy does. But Italy is actually, this side note, Italy is actually a fairly easy passport for you to get if you had grandparents, great grandparents, et cetera, who were born, who have an Italian passport.
Greg, I looked into this so deep, being a basketball player and trying to get dual passports to play internationally as a local. And let's just say, like, I think my bloodline was here before Christopher Columbus. I couldn't find anything. I literally think they were born in Iowa in the 1200s.
Yeah, my Canadian families have been there for forever, ever, it seems.
All right, we got to get into this because the perfect day, I love this. Like, this is what everybody's searching for, is a life rhythm, a pace. And when you see that, you're like, perfect day. Well, can it really exist? Like, it sounds too good to be true, Craig. So break this down. How can we achieve our perfect day?
Yeah, and so I know when some people are thinking, oh, perfect day, sitting on the beach, having a couple margaritas. No, that's the perfect margarita formula. But we're talking about the perfect day formula, which is the day that is designed to move you really far towards your big goals and dreams. Yeah. And it's a day where it all comes together, and by your planning and preparation, you're able to overcome obstacles that would otherwise hold most people back. And so that you've optimized it, structured it in a way that you just get so much done. And then you also have been so disciplined and structured during the day that you freed up time for at night for what really matters, whether it's family, faith, fitness, whatever it is, your hobbies, the things that a lot of people put in the past once they hit a certain age. No, perfect day can include everything. So it really comes down with you knowing exactly what matters. I have this little phrase that goes like this: your values and vision drive every decision. Your values and your vision drive every decision. And so if you know what your straight line to success is, then you have perfect days that keep you on that straight line to success, and you don't have detours.
Okay, so question for you. What sounds better, paying $7,000 for a huge sauna that you probably don't have space for, or $599 for one that you can transport and take wherever you want? I think the answer is pretty obvious. Higher Dose. Let me introduce you to that name. I have been using it for a couple of years now, actually, and it's literally my secret to taking high-powered naps. It's a sauna I can have in my apartment. I don't have room for a big, massive sauna, but I do for Higher Dose. And what are the benefits of Higher Dose sauna blanket? You kind of wrap yourself up in a cocoon, and I'm telling you, like, my naps, like 10 to 15 minutes off the charts. Enhances deep relaxation, improves circulation, promotes glowing skin, burns calories, encourages detoxification, pain relief, higher energy levels, reduces stress, promotes better sleep, everything that a sauna does, but in a blanket. That's very affordable, that you can put anywhere. Higher Dose. Yeah, check out higherdose.com. Code for you for listening to this podcast, David15, for 15% off. higherdose.com. Let me know how you're liking it, how your naps are going, or just chilling in it. It's amazing. Go check it out. Get your sauna on today. So let's dive. I love it. Let's dive into the details of all of it, because I know people are thinking like, oh, but Craig, I have kids. I have a job where I have to do this. I work the night shift. Let's first start off with the morning. What does the morning look like? Give us some tools that you've seen in your own life, or you've seen from successful people that have really helped them hone in on this perfect day from the morning aspect.
Absolutely. And so I have this little 3C formula in the perfect day. And the first one is control what you can. Now, we have the greatest control over our mornings. We control what time we get up. We control the attitude we have when we get up. We control what we work on first thing in the morning. We control what we eat, how we nourish our bodies, whether we give ourselves caffeine and sugar, whether we give ourselves protein, a little bit of caffeine, the optimal approach to the day. And so we have great control. And in fact, what most people need to understand is that, yeah, you can wake up with great intentions in the morning, but unless you've planned properly the night before, the day before, then you're not going to have the perfect morning. So planning and preparation in today's afternoon makes tomorrow's morning absolutely amazing. And so you need to figure out what the best time is for you to get up. And then what I have seen in most successful people is that they don't have long morning routines. Instead, they get right down to business, because there's a guy named Stephen Pink who wrote a book called When, the Scientific Perfect Time to Do Anything. I forget the exact subtitle, but he shows that we have the greatest discipline, willpower, and intention first thing in the morning. You have your discipline, your willpower, intention first thing in the morning, and then like muscle energy, like in a game of basketball, it gets depleted over time. So, I say that God has this funny little joke. He gives us a lot of discipline in the morning and no discipline at night, and he gives us chocolate cake at night and brand cereal in the morning, right? And so it's like, hey, can you give me some of that discipline at night? But in the morning, a lot of people spend time on these long morning routines that kind of hold them back. They do their long workouts, they watch motivational YouTube videos, they scroll, they snooze. They do all of these things. I call them perverse forms of procrastination because a lot of them sound good, but they eat up your discipline, willpower, and intention. And so by the time that somebody actually gets down to what really matters in their career, their business, whatever, they've lost that willpower. And now they're much more prone to going and looking at social media. Now, had they gotten up and attacked their number one problem or opportunity first thing in the morning when they had the greatest discipline, willpower, and attention, and they planned for that the night before, that's when you really raise your performance and you're able to move ahead. And so, I've been a struggling personal trainer who woke up at 4:30 in the morning to work 15 minutes on his online business, and that's what set me free. And I've been an online business owner with multiple businesses, really, really busy, who woke up early in the morning and worked on my books for 15 minutes. And that's how I was able to write 3 best-selling books, and so on and so forth, so that I was able to, every single morning, despite the rest of the day being really busy, I was able to get a victory first thing in the day. And it doesn't matter how crazy the rest of the day gets, because you've won the morning, and that's when you win the day.
Love it. Discipline equals freedom is what you're hitting on there. That's so good. Now, here's the flip side of this. So people will also think, well, okay, well, I get so much done in the morning. I have my morning, and then it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Do I have to keep working? I think a lot of people put shame on themselves. They feel bad if they aren't just working and going and going and going. And I was actually with a good friend in Toronto who's a Hall of Fame speaker, and he's just like, no, dude, I have time. Like, I just know what I do well. I speak, and I'm not trying to do 8 zillion things to just fill my time. Like, how do we detach from that mindset of like, okay, if I want to work till noon and then enjoy the rest, like, I don't have to give into this continued hamster wheel type of lifestyle that society's putting on us. So, one of my favorite feelings in the world, it's getting a great night's sleep on cozy and comfortable sheets and blankets. And for me and my wife, that is absolutely Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth, more comfortable than cotton. It's made from bamboo. And get this, it has been featured on Oprah's favorites list. Favorites list for the last 4 years in a row. They even give a 100-night sleep test. It means you can try them out for 100 nights, and if you don't like it, you get fully refunded. It's high quality, so cozy, so comfy, you won't want to get out of bed. And now I teach people to jump out of bed. But with Cozy Earth, you ain't going to want to get out of bed. And what they're doing for my listeners is incredible. Never been done before. 40% off. Are you kidding me? 40% off. If you go to Cozy Earth, COZY Earth.com and enter the code DavidNurse40 at checkout, that is DavidNurse40, you will get 40% off the best covers, the best sheets you've ever had in your life. Trust me, you will absolutely love these. You'll probably be sleeping in the next time I do a podcast. Check them out, CozyEarth.com, DavidNurse40 for your special discount.
It's a great point. And, so I was a personal trainer for a long time. And if you're a professional personal trainer, you take a look at most people's workouts, they're full of fluff, right? Like, do you really need to do 4 sets instead of 2 or 3 sets? Do you really need to do 6 exercises instead of 3 or 4 exercises? There's a lot of fluff. It's a lot of redundancy, and a lot of it is irrelevant to the long-term gains. And in fact, if you train too much, you get overuse injury, which holds you back. Very similar to our daily productivity. Let's take a look at what you're doing. Let's 80-20 it, right? Because you get 80% of your results from 20% of your efforts, as your Hall of Fame speaker friend probably knows. And so it's figure out what really matters, what really drives the needle in our business and in our lives, and attack that as early as possible in the morning. with when there's few and very little distractions, and you'll get so much done. There's a guy named Russell Brunson who's very famous in the internet marketing world, and he claims that my system, Perfect Day Formula, helped him get an 8-hour workday done in 2 hours because it allowed him to do it without distraction, super focused, cut the fluff, and also building up that say no muscle, the power of saying no to things and not doing a million things. Man, that's a game changer, because at the end of the day, it's a small number of things that really matter. And you can cut the fluff and be done at 2 or 3, and then you have to live your life.
Yeah. Go into that part. I want to know about the recharge in the afternoon, because you talked about at the start, like the things that actually matter. And you even teased us with a little chocolate cake at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you plan your day to make sure that you do get a recharge? Because I can feel it, like, in the days where I don't set a certain time of when me and my wife are going to shut it down, the closing time. I'll check text messages, or I'll check emails, and then I'm drained the next day. So how can we best recharge?
Well, I mean, this is the same way that a game of basketball is played, right? What's in basketball? There are boundaries. There are lines that indicate specific rules, boundaries. Ball goes out. There's boundaries in time. And we need to use that mindset, the boundaries and the deadlines of sports, and apply that to our daily life. For example, what we have in our life is we have a reverse alarm time. So an hour before bed, we have an alarm that goes off that says, hey, you shut down all your electronics and you do old school activities, like you talk to your spouse, you get ready for the next day, you read, you take a bath, you do meditation, whatever it is that allows you to wind down for the day. And then we have a cutoff time for our work where we do our end of day planning and prepare the next morning. So there's another boundary in there. And I have boundaries for taking calls. I only do these types of podcasts and stuff between 2 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because that is my talk time, whereas my morning time is my creative time, productive time. And so you put all these boundaries in place, and with deadlines, it actually forces you to be more productive. So it's kind of a combination of what your friend was telling you. Now, he's done at 2 or 3 and doesn't feel like doing more. But what if you forced yourself to be done at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock, and you weren't able to work until 7, 8, or 9? It would make you a more productive person. It would make you a more disciplined, more focused. It would force you to cut the fluff. And so that's what we're looking for. And so when you need to harness the power of public accountability, or accountability to a peer, someone you don't want to disappoint, you say, hey, listen, I'm going to be off my phone at 6 o'clock tonight. I'm going to jump in the pool for 15 minutes with my kids. I'm going to give them quality time. Then I'm going to, prepare dinner. Then I'm going to give them a bath. I'm not jumping back on my phone at all. So if you find me liking something on Facebook, or commenting on Instagram, or whatever it is, or, scrolling through TikTok somehow, you got to call me out on it. And when you have that accountability to somebody you deeply do not want to disappoint, then you will really move mountains in your life and change your habits, which allow you to get that recovery time, and also that deep connection time.
Craig, that is beautiful. Because you know what? Like, I respect the people more who are not always available, And then if you start just responding right away to emails, or let's say, I think there's so much power in having one day being Sabbath. Like, God created the earth in 6 days, not 7, for a reason. And if you're always responding to emails and stuff, people think he's always available. We can just always get a hold of David. And it drives you nuts, and it also loses your respect with others. So it's a win-win if you set your boundaries. But that one word that you said is so hard to say, no. Do you have any tools or tactics that you use? Or is it just like getting practice? It's just like a muscle, just like practicing.
It is.
Hey, just let's do it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And so, you're a speaker. I've done some speaking. And for a long time, I was saying yes to every speaking engagement. And, for example, there was one that was like the inflection point. It was, somebody said, hey, listen, come down to this thing. It's called Paleo FX. It's in Austin, Texas. It's 3 days. You're going to meet a lot of people. We'll pay you $2,500 in your airfare. And I'm like, oh, man, yeah, sure, whatever. That sounds great. And like, who knows who I'll meet there. But then I added up. So it's like I got paid $2,500 for 3 days. I sat in an airplane for 6 hours, because there was a connecting flight. And by the time you do it, it's like, man, that's minimum wage. I can't do that anymore. So then I started like putting a 0 on every speaking engagement, which meant I got like no speaking engagements, but it allowed it, when I first said no to like the $5,000 or $10,000 speaking engagement, I was like, man, am I really saying no to this? But it actually helped improved my personal life. It improved my business because I didn't uproot myself for 3 days. And so, yeah, you learn to get better. And the one trick that I give to people is to use the Oprah mindset. Because if you think about it, who is one of the most in-demand people in the world? Like who, if people could say, like, I can just get a minute with one person, most people are probably going to pick Oprah, especially most women. Now, Oprah Winfrey has 2 billion people who want a minute of her time. Does she say yes to any of those people? No. Oprah is Nopra. Nopra. She's the queen of saying no, right? And so it's like if Oprah can say no to all these people who want a minute of her time, because when she says no, that allows her to go and do the bigger things like start her own television network and interview people at the highest level and do things that get dozens of millions of views, right? Man, I see how she's playing this game. She's playing this game for the big results, not the doing everything for everybody. And so everybody needs to take that Nopra mindset and think about if you're an entrepreneur, if Oprah was running your business, would she be doing the things that you do on a daily basis? Like Oprah didn't do the lighting. She didn't do the catering. She didn't make sure the guests got picked up at the airport. No, she gave that to somebody else. And Oprah did what only Oprah could do. And even if you're a lawyer or you're an accountant, like you were put here on this earth because you have great skills, great talent, and great experience in those things. And you shouldn't be mowing your lawn and blowing your snow and doing your laundry and all of those things. And that's okay. A lot of people have a really hard time with that, paying somebody else. Because I came from a farm background, right? Like I grew up on a farm and my mom still has no idea what I do in my business. And when she finds out that somebody else cuts our lawn, she's like, oh, wow, how on earth could you do that? Right. But I wasn't put here on this earth to do that. And you weren't put here on this earth to do that. So if you spend an hour or 2 or 3 doing kind of $10 an hour tasks and it takes you away from your $100 or $200 or $300 an hour tasks, that's a bad use of your time. And you need to have a little more Nopra in your life.
Craig, that is so good. Everybody run that section back. It's so funny too, man. I just had the conversation with my mom about cutting grass. I was like, well, I'm not gonna mow my lawn. I mean, that's time given up. Someone could do that for $50. Like, that's the production piece. Production and being efficient does not equal, okay, you have to put in 80-hour weeks. You have to do this. No, I think people need to do a better job of understanding of how are you going to use your time to leverage it the best. Like if I'm working minimum wage at McDonald's, it's going to take me a long time to make a lot of money. But if I look at building relationships and, okay, I'm in the real estate game and I get this one big hit and it sells for, I get $1 million on the cut, that's so much more beneficial long-term for your time than it is just putting in like just hour after hour after hour after hour.
Exactly.
Dude, so good. Okay, so what happens when you have a bad day? Because you just like everything in your persona is like, dude gets it. He's on the flow. He's got his guidelines, his routines. He's just killing life. Like, what happens when you're off?
Yeah, it's a great question. What happens when you're playing a basketball game and the other team goes on a 20-0 run? Like, do you give up? Do you quit? Do you say, hey, can I get a restart? No, you got to keep going. And you look at those teams that had the greatest comebacks. They probably go back to basics. They get back on track with their plan, with their system. They uplift their energy, and that's the same thing that we need to do. Whether you wake up in the morning and your house is flooded, or whether you wake up in the morning and the power is out, you look at what your plan was, and then you adjust accordingly, and you get back on track. Now, if you start your plan and then all of a sudden something happens and it takes you off your plan, we have to look at ourselves as professionals. And when we're watching that basketball game and we're a fan of that team that's down 20 points, we expect them to perform as professionals, right? Like everybody listening to this has watched a game where they're like, man, these guys got to get back into it. We fully expect them to be professional. And as professionals in basketball, their job is to win the game. And so you need to use that same mentality for yourself. When my day starts to go bad, I'm a professional. And a professional athlete doesn't start snapping at his teammates, although I heard that Tom Brady might have recently done that. But in most cases, it's probably not helpful. And you're not Tom Brady. So it's probably helpful when the team comes together. And that's what you expect when you're watching the game. And that's what you got to expect from yourself. So you don't snap. Instead, you just look at, here's the problem. How can we take the first step to fixing it? And that's the same question you ask when you have an opportunity as when you have a problem. What's the first step? What's the first step? You got an 800-pound elephant problem. What's the first step? One bite at a time, right? As the old cliches go. And so I always ask my clients, what is the first step that you can do right now to get back on track, to get you a quick victory? Because when you get a quick victory, it releases dopamine in the body, much like when you get a like on your post, that releases dopamine in the body. But this is a good hit of dopamine. And when you have that quick victory, then you get a little bit of momentum, and now you have motivation to keep going back. And, so I guess like the comeback that comes to mind is Tom Brady, right? In that Super Bowl. I remember, I don't really watch sports anymore. And that was like the last one that I kind of paid attention to. But, and where I was, it was like I go to bed really early. And so I went to bed at halftime when Tom Brady was down like 30 points. And I woke up the next day and I saw that Tom Brady had won the game. And he didn't score 35 points in one play. He scored 7, he scored 7, he scored 7, he scored 7. And it was just they were just doing what they were supposed to be doing. Whereas the other team, they started to melt down and they started to do everything that you shouldn't do. And they let their day get off track. So, there's so many parallels between pro sports and the way that we need to be productive and successful.
I love it that you used that story, because I just recently looked up the biggest comebacks of all time, because I was talking to somebody how important halftime in your day is. Like, that's why they have halftime in sports. How'd the first half of your day go? Assess it, understand what you can do to improve it to the second half. And that's just what halftime is in sports. And Wes Welker literally said in an interview, it's like, we just took it one play at a time. You can have a long plan.
So cheesy and such a cliche, right?
I know.
But what else can you do?
Yeah, it has to be one step. One step. You can look so far in advance, but if you don't take that one step, and we can throw every single cliche, cheesy line there is, but guess what? It's cliche for a reason.
Yeah, it's true.
Craig, this is amazing, man. This is amazing. I go on and on and on and on, but we're going to throw you on the rapid fire hot seat.
Okay.
Quick answers, whatever comes to your mind first, shoot them out there. What has been, when you think about it, what has been like the favorite single day, perfect day of your life? Just paint that picture for us. And you'll probably say your wedding day, but whatever. It couldn't be that, but paint it out there.
Yeah. First kiss with my wife was great. Wedding day was great. Birth of my daughter was great. I mean, cutting the cord was amazing. But her baptism, I just lost it because, the pastor said that she was called to be here. And I started crying. And man, it truly was the greatest moment of my life, because I waited until later in life to have kids. And so my mom's pretty old, and she had been waiting so long. She had my sister's little dress that my sister got baptized in 50 years ago it was just wild. So, that's the greatest moment of my life.
That's awesome, man. And we didn't even talk about that, but that's the reason right there too. The main reason why you can stay so calm no matter what storm comes, and you can stay like your day is like you want to get, like how driven that you are, is because of your faith. Same for me too. The pressure is not on us. God's taken and lifted that pressure off. We know he has that plan for us, and we can just live in the day to day. So we didn't really hit on that, man, but you just opened it up, so I had to hit on it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Love that. Okay, how do you can grow being a super high performer yourself? Like, what do you do? Books?
Man, I put myself in, so we got connected because we're mutual friends with this guy, Joel Marion. And Joel Marion, he brings together amazing people. So I always try and put myself in the room with people that are way smarter than me. I'm usually going through 1 or 2 courses at the same time. I don't read as many books as I used to, because I used to actually, this is funny, I used to hate watching video. It was so painful for me. But in the last year, I started watching video courses, and that's kind of replaced my books. But I'm always learning. I learn probably an hour or 2 a day. And, I'm kind of the person who likes to learn. Naturally, I'd be learning something. And so I forced myself to do it. And moving down here to Mexico has also forced me to learn Spanish too. So I spend 20 or 30 minutes.
Man, interesting. Okay. I took 3 years of Spanish. I could probably tell you a few words. La Ventana, Verde. Yeah, that's about it right there for you. All right, Craig, we're going to play out your dream scenario. If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who are you going to have at your table, And what are you eating? Very, very important question.
I know what I'm eating. I'm at Prime
Ooh,
112. We're
yeah,
having this
baby.
dinner at Prime 112,
Come on.
112, and I'm definitely having the birthday cake dessert. My wife and I still dream about that. And so the first person I'm going to have there is my father. He passed away too young, and I would give anything for another moment with him. The second person would be Earl Nightingale. He's kind of
Ah,
like the father of
yeah,
personal
totally.
development. Absolutely, yeah, and Tony Robbins, because I haven't spent much time with Tony, but Joel has, and just says there's nobody
Yeah.
like him. So I would like to get a shot at that. So I think I don't know what my father would really contribute to the
He's your
time,
dad,
but
man.
those
Yeah.
two gentlemen would probably be able to school me
You know
into
what?
another
Joel,
level.
he probably told us the same story. He was telling me that too. Like he was in a room with him, like just a small room with Tony. He's like, the dude's the
Yeah, yeah,
real
just a few of them.
deal. That's amazing. That's cool to hear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll
it
go
really
hang out
is.
with him sometime, somewhere. Well, he's close to you. I think he's down in Florida.
Exactly.
I don't know. Anyways. All right. Last question. But before we get there, how can we all follow you, support you, check out The Perfect Day, just immerse ourselves in Craig?
Yeah, two things. Two things. One, find me on Instagram at Real Craig Ballantyne, Real Craig Ballantyne. And two, get my books. I'm going to give them to you for free. You don't have to give me your email or anything. You're going to go to craigballantyne.com/free books. You're going to start with The Perfect Week. And then if you or anyone you know suffers from anxiety in any format, you're going to read Unstoppable.
Mm,
That's the toolbox that I built that helped me overcome crippling anxiety attacks. And then you're going to read the Perfect Day Formula that will help you own your morning and win
dude,
your day.
it's great, man. Yeah, Unstoppable. Yeah, that's the going through the hell. That's more of your personal story.
Yeah, it starts off with my personal story, and then it gets into the tools that you can use. Doesn't matter if you call it anxiety or stress. It doesn't matter if you have it like on a 1 out of 10 level, or if like me, you have actually been to the doctor or emergency room because of this anxiety, thinking you're having a heart attack. But it will just give you the tools, like you'll never feel
So
anxious
I
again.
think everybody needs that. Yeah. Sell it to everyone in
Yeah.
LA. Hey, I'd be amiss if we didn't hit on also like your ability to help people get from 0 to 1 million. You've helped what, like 260 or somewhere around there entrepreneurs get to the first 7 figures?
Yeah, it's been really fun. And so as long as someone comes in with a little bit of expertise, we just show them how to get going, how to get the systems in
Systems,
place
man.
to scale
So
up. And
important.
so, our friend Joel Marion was a struggling high
Yeah.
school teacher in 2009 when he met me, and he was working on a side business at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And 6 months later, I mean, that guy is a
Yeah.
machine, but I just kind of gave him the little
Oh,
systems and framework that he needed to
okay,
go to the
Craig.
next
We need
level.
to talk offline about this for sure. I want to come work with you because I know what Joel did. It's like where he got to. Yeah, and just
Yeah.
FYI, our
Yeah.
friend
He's a
Joel, who
beast.
was the teacher, he just sold his company for almost $1 billion with a B. Yeah, there you go. So it works. All right, last question. Drop the mic on it. It can be a word, it can be a phrase. If somebody is stuck in their situation, they don't know how to get out, they can't see past where they currently are, what word of advice or piece of advice would you give them to be able to get unstuck and have vision and have goals moving forward?
I will say this, that it's hard, it's tough love, but there is someone somewhere in worse
Yeah,
circumstances doing more than what we're
good.
doing right now. And as tough as it is, we got to go and we got to show up every single day, do the basics, and keep moving
That's
forward.
beautiful. Craig, you're the man. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Dude, that was awesome. So good.